everyone. Lauren Culp here, President and CEO at CUInsight.com, and I am bringing you a 3 questions video interview with a special guest today. Joining me is the VP of Payments, Risk, and Compliance at SWIVEL, which is an SWBC company. His name is Wes Burton. Wes, we are so excited to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm going to dive into our first question here. And the things that we're talking about are really, really important for financial institutions. And so question 1 for you, given the recent increase in oversight and enforcement action in the financial technology space, how do you see the regulatory landscape evolving over the next 12 to 24 months? And what steps can financial service providers in the payment space take to prepare for these changes?
Sure. Yeah. It looks like expanded scope of oversight by regulators, but I think in reality, it's really just regulators finally holding companies accountable for things that we should have been doing all along. Deeper and more comprehensive reviews of back-end service providers and payment facilitators should start to occur naturally as some of the sponsoring banks start to beef up compliance departments and start to get an understanding from regulators about what's expected. Unfortunately, compliance programs in the payment space in the past have sometimes been treated like a check the box exercise. And I think those days are over. FIs are going to have to understand the payments process really end to end, and they're going to have to develop an eye for any opportunities to safeguard their clients from a risk perspective, and then take steps to fill those gaps and make sure that those gaps are identified and closed appropriately. And then just to kind of sum that up, really it's the evolution of the regulatory landscape is again just forcing companies to manage what I think are fundamentals in the compliance world, because they really do protect everybody involved.
Absolutely. I'm curious too, with instant ACH availability and popularity skyrocketing in the US, what are maybe the top 3 emerging risk and fraud trends, or we could even say blind spots, that credit unions should be aware of?
Yeah, so the unique thing about instant payments is the ability, or really inability, to recover funds when a fraud occurs because of the speed in which the payments are happening. 3 emergent risks that I have seen or heard about in some cases. One is AI powered fraud. So basically just the use of AI to test user access, either into their online banking account or some other payment gateway. Second's what I call a manipulation of the payer. So, and that's where the fraudster is basically convincing somebody that they're a trusted party and then convincing them to make a payment, to them. And then the last one I would say is risk of insider fraud. So someone inside a financial institution who obviously has knowledge about the systems and the access and has proper access, they can either set up new accounts potentially or process an unauthorized payment, once those accounts are set up. So then, of course, the next question comes: how do I mitigate, those risks and trends for instant payments? And I think the key, really first and foremost, is to throttle up on instant payments. So don't just go out and offer every instant payments offering that there is. Make sure that those offerings are tailored to the risk environment for your company, and then ensure that you have proper systems in place to block transaction activity real time as it comes in. I think the real time component with some automation is going to be really key there to keeping up with the speed in which those instant payments occur. And I had a mentor of mine one time. He was a former law enforcement person. He told me that there's really 3 elements present in a crime, and they have to occur all at the same time in the same space. So one is a suitable target. So you have to have a target that is desirable. A second would be a lack of a suitable guardian. And then the third one is a likely and motivated offender. So you're always going to have the likely and motivated offenders. That's the reason why fraudsters are in business. But the mitigation strategies that I talked about really make that target less suitable, because you're putting appropriate limits in place. You're not becoming what I would call low-hanging fruit to a fraudster. You don't stand out to them. And then last thing is you're a suitable guardian if you have the proper controls and monitoring in place that allows you the proper oversight. So those three things together really eliminate two of those things that must be present, for a crime to occur or for somebody to want to commit a fraud. So I think those are critical in managing that.
One of the interesting things that you mentioned, we've talked a lot about what AI can do for credit unions, but thinking about fraudsters using AI for maybe more nefarious purposes too.
Yeah, the AI aspect obviously is something that's new to us. So we're not, we are still trying to stay caught up on how they're leveraging AI to access user credentials, and so that's certainly a challenge that we are looking to understand more and more. And I know there's a lot of tools out there now that we're starting to look at to see, how can we use those tools to mitigate those new challenges with AI.
Right, absolutely. And often I know the word compliance can cause maybe some instant heartburn within other parts of the business, but do you have any best practices that a risk and compliance organization can leverage to build a stronger partnership with their frontline operations, sales, and even relationship management teams?
Yeah, I think the key thing is communication. You have to be an active partner and an active participant, because these you have to realize that departments outside of compliance, they don't understand the background or the reasoning behind why either certain controls or mandates may come down. So I think the first thing is you build a relationship with those groups inside your organization, and don't isolate yourself as a department. I've seen that happen several times, and I think that leads to uncertainty and really some lack of trust sometimes, between the other departments, you and the other departments. And then if there is an important mandate or a change, just make sure that you find a way to communicate that to understanding that the people may not have, an in-depth knowledge of compliance. Be understanding of that and shape that messaging so that they can understand it. And then I think a huge part is being willing to just get on a call with either if it's an internal partner or a client and demonstrate that you are the compliance expert and that you're going to be there for them as a resource to ensure that they understand what the obligations are and that they can implement those correctly. And then I think another important factor is finding a balance. Oftentimes, the regulations are can be very strict, or we may have contractual obligations, but it's important to meet those obligations without strangling commerce. That's you never want to get in the way of being able to conduct your business, your core business, by putting in too many controls, especially those that aren't necessary. So there's always going to be some friction that's required. You have to have that to reduce risk, but you should always strive not to go too far. Don't go overboard with your controls. If you have to say no, just do it with empathy, right? And a thorough explanation as to why. And the other message I would certainly deliver is don't let compliance be a mystery inside of your organization or with your clients. So oversharing, I think, is better than holding things close to the vest.
Well, you shared so many good insights, Wes, on what folks can do with their compliance teams, where some of the maybe emerging risks and blind spots for credit unions are. And as we wrap up the conversation, I want to know from you if you have any final thoughts for our audience today.
Yeah, if we can help in any way, if you have questions, certainly happy to do so. Just feel free to reach out, and we'll set up some time to go through those and see if we can help you.
I love it. Well, we're going to put contact information for Wes and his team at SWIVEL and SWBC Company here in the post. So anyone who's interested will find that right there in the body of the post for this interview. Wes, thank you so much for taking some time today. It was great getting to connect and learn more.
Thank you, Lauren. Certainly, again, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And thanks to all of our listeners today for tuning into the CUInsight 3 Questions video interview series. And we will be back again next time.